Pornography should be illegal, and we should be praying for that to happen. There are, of course, many reasons why, and I will assume that for most or all people watching this video, it's not necessary to go through all those reasons. However, there are a few reasons that need to be emphasized. Number one, as a Bible-believing Christian, I am, of course, concerned for the well-being and success of my church, and this problem is not only destroying souls out in society, but even within our own church. And one of the best indicators of how serious this problem is how often church leaders continually have to speak out against it. And they do so because they are aware of how much damage this is causing. As a Christian, it is typical to hear some message or sermon about the dangers or harms of pornography and why we should personally not view porn. But I have not heard, and maybe your experience is different, to the best of my memory, I do not recall ever hearing any call for prayer that pornography should be illegal. And this brings us to reason number two. The government has both the God-given authority and the God-given duty to legislate civil society and to protect the well-being and health of its citizens. And pornography is, for many, many reasons, an existential threat to a nation's health and prosperity. As a Bible-believing Christian, I am not only concerned for the well-being and success of my church, but also the well-being and health of my nation and my fellow citizens. The Bible is explicit that we are to be very concerned for the welfare of the nation where we live. Jeremiah 29:7, "Seek the peace of the city where I have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray to the Lord for it, for in its peace you will have peace." We are told in the Bible that even if God's people are taken to live in some pagan Babylon, we are explicitly obligated to pray for Babylon's peace and prosperity. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, "I exhort first of all that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, or kings, and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence." We are explicitly told in the Bible that not only are we to pray for leaders in government, but that doing so is the number one priority. It literally reads right here in Greek, first, before, at the beginning, not second, not third, but first. This is because the decisions by leaders in governments affect everything and everyone, and the prayers of God's people are an absolute necessity so that God can influence those decisions. I don't know about those of you watching this video, but I am not convinced that evil, especially the evil of pornography, is supposed to have the tremendous success that it does. I'm not convinced that it is God's will that pornography should remain unopposed by divine decree and that there's nothing we can or should do about this. Considering the amount of damage that pornography is causing on any given day, it is astounding that, to my knowledge, nobody anywhere is calling for those who are willing to come together and pray that this should be illegal. One of the reasons I am especially interested in the topic of pornography is because in my studies of abortion and other evils in society, I am bothered and disturbed by the general apathy and weakness of men. There are so many evils in society that seem to be growing daily at an almost exponential rate, and yet men in general, and even within my own church, remain quiet and withdrawn. And while many examples could be given, the best example of this is abortion. We often hear the quote, "The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens fall." I am persuaded that there is nothing on planet Earth that is more effective in destroying the moral fiber of men than pornography. Certainly there are many others, but this in particular. Men in general do nothing against the great tide of evil sweeping across the nation and across the world, and they do nothing because their moral fiber is being gutted, and nothing is more effective in accomplishing this than pornography. As a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, it is very common to hear our church leaders and pastors, President Ted Wilson, our evangelists, boast of the fact that our pioneers took a leading role in the temperance movement to make the sale of alcohol illegal. However, when you compare alcohol, as damaging as it is, to the reach and availability and the effects of pornography, there is simply no comparison. If temperance was so important, then opposing pornography and calling for it to be illegal is an absolute urgent necessity. So please join me in praying that God will raise up opposition to pornography. Join me in praying that God will destroy the porn industry. Pray that God will lead government leaders to be filled with courage and bravery to make pornography illegal. Please pray that God will open their eyes to perceive how dangerous and destructive this is to marriages, to families, and to society in general. Please join me in praying that God will curse and punish the porn industry with horrible judgments and destruction and disease and misery and pain. I am very serious about this. If any of you want to join me, please use the contact information down below and we can pray together. We can set up a group prayer time, or even if it's only one person. If even just one person wants to pray about this problem, please contact me and I will pray with you about this. Please use the contact information below and may God richly bless our efforts. Thank you.